Next, I want to talk briefly about dry eyes. But before I talk about the syndromes, I want to talk about the Western perspective of lubrication of the eyes. And it's much more interesting than you would think about, because it's not just water which is covering the eyes. There's two different glands secreting an oily substance called meibomium. There's one lot of glands right just behind the eyelashes, and then there's another set secreting something slightly different, actually on the inside of the eyelids. It's all quite extraordinary that it should happen like this. And this meibomium is an oily-like substance, and this acts as the protective film in front of the eyes. So not only do you have to have this oily substance, but you also have to have the fluids which are secreted by the tear ducts, which are sort of up here. So when the eyes become dry, there's two possible reasons for it. One is that this oily substance is not being secreted. The other is that the fluids, the watery stuff, is not being secreted. And once you understand that, it's easier to understand why the eyes become dry. And if you returning now to the syndromes, we see top of the list is liver blood insufficient, and you might say, well, why? What's liver blood got to do with dry eyes? Well, the reason is that when you have insufficient liver blood, it's not just anemia. It's also the oily substance in the blood is just as important. So this shows the difficulty of comparing Western medicine and Chinese medicine. Liver blood deficient, you might think, is just anemia. It's not just anemia. It's more than that. It's this nourishing substance, this oily nourishing substance, is deficient. And so when that's deficient, just in the same way that the skin becomes dry, so this oily substance is not secreted to lubricate the eyes. Liver and kidney weak, well, you have a bit of the same effect going on here, but in this case it's more simply to do with the fluids, and the kidneys not circulating the fluids. Then the next two patterns, full heat and liver yang rising, well, that's because they dry up the fluids. That's easy to understand. Spleen qi shu and lung weakness, that's because the spleen doesn't circulate the fluids. Likewise, because of the lung weakness, the fluids aren't circulated. Finally, we have the thick phlegm pattern. Here, it's not that the oily substance is not secreted, it's that the oil is actually too thick an oil to be effective for its purpose. And so, in one case you have not enough oil, in this case the oil is too thick. So you see, dry eyes in themselves, the body condition underlying them is quite complicated. But once you understand the pathology that's going on, the fact that you do have these two things going on, it's not just the water, it's the oil as well. Once you understand this, then it's easy to find out what's going wrong and to correct it. So just recently I had a patient who was complaining of dry eyes, and they had all sorts of extraordinary Western treatments, including a transplant of glands into the eyes. But actually it turned out simply they had a thick phlegm pattern. And what do you do for the thick phlegm pattern? Take them off cheese, take them off bread and wheat. Took him off cheese and bread and wheat. Lo and behold, the eyes got better. Of course I gave him some treatment as well, but in order to maintain the improvement, he needs to keep off foods which easily transform to phlegm.